looks like this place has been hit by plague.
Oh, a remarkable mummy. We must take it back with us.
Yeah, we get back.
Hey there, Groovy Ghoulies. It's me, your Uncle Todd, here with Sonny. And today we're venturing into the weird Western with 1937's Riders of the Whistling Skull. A Republic picture. Republic was mainly known for B-Westerns and serials, so they were always heavy on action and they always had great special effects and stunt work. The Three Mesquiteers was originally created by author William Colt MacDonald. He wrote a series of books with him, and Republic adapted those characters to the screen. They made about 51 films between 1936 and 1943. The films also had a variety of different actors come in and out of the series as it progressed. Today's flick, The Riders of the Whistling Skull, contains probably the most popular iteration with Robert Livingston as leader Stony Brook, Ray Crash Corrigan as Tucson Smith, and comedian Max Terhune as Lullaby Johnson and his puppet Elmer. The film starts with a group of scientists at a trading post. They're waiting to hear back from Professor Marsh, who had gone off in search of the ancient legendary tribe of the Lukachuke. There's supposed to be a vast treasure there, but it is also a forbidden place. None of the locals go there because they're afraid of the Whistling Skull. The Three Mesquiteers show up. They found Professor Flaxen, who was with the group, wandering in the desert.
We found it! The lost city of Lukachukai. The legends of the Whistling Skull were true. It guards an amazing ancient village. There's an enormous treasure of gold. It took us days to move it, but it's hidden. Hidden where no one can find it. Look! Look!
Of course, everybody wants to know where the treasure is. And, as often happens in these kind of films, just when he's about ready to talk.
Cross the Chuska Range to find the city? The Chuskas? Yes. Yes. Yes, up the Painted Gorge, then north of the Fork, and then... What's the matter? The tunnel! My goodness!
When the sheriff arrives, Stoney, who has been reading some detective pulp magazines, fancies himself a bit of a Sherlock Holmes.
Sheriff, the curse on this knife handle shows plainly that it's a clear-cut case of Indian vengeance.
I disagree with you, Stoney. The murderer may be unknown, but he's still in this room. The door was closed, and there don't happen to be any windows.
You may be right, Tucson, but the evidence isn't strong enough to prove anything. I'm going to report this case as an unsolved Indian murder. Exactly.
That little wink there at the beginning didn't clue you in. Stoney was just making that up to lull the murderer into a false sense of security, and the sheriff plays along. Also, this time we get our only appearance of Elmer.
Where did this carpet bag come from, and who does it belong to?
Belongs to me, Ted.
What's in it?
Only Elmer. Me and him was going to be on an act over at the Charity Bazaar at Rawhide.
Elmer, hey? So there was someone else in the room. Open that bag, Lullaby.
But
I
Elmer...
said open that bag.
You're not under suspicion, Elmer. Say, did anybody think of questioning the sheriff?
What an odd specimen.
You're no bouquet of roses yourself, lady.
After some haggling, Stoney convinces Tucson and Lullaby to accompany the group on their expedition. While out on the trail, Lullaby reveals that Professor Flaxen had been carrying a notebook, and they give it to Mary, who is able to translate it. It turns out to be a map. At this point, people start squabbling over who should take charge of it.
As leader of the expedition, I'll take charge of the map.
Why should you have it? Betty's the only one who can decipher the hieroglyphics. To settle an argument, we'll each take a piece of this map. And when we get stuck for directions, we'll place them all together.
It's a pretty good idea. Keeps everyone safe, but doesn't really work. Tragedy strikes that night.
Where do you think you're going, Coggins?
I'm going after firewood, and I don't see any reason for being followed. Supposing you both get back to camp and stay there.
What's happened, Betty? It sounded like Cleary's voice.
Is he dead?
Yeah, probably never knew what hit him.
They also discover that Professor Franck is missing. Deciding he must be the killer, this is then disproved the next day when they find him wandering the desert.
Professor Franck. He's been whipped and tortured.
You ever seen that kind of a brand before, Ota?
It's brand a mysterious lost cult who call themselves Sons of Anastasia.
Now, finally, we get some hard-riding Western action when the supply wagon is set on fire. Gotta love the amazing stunt work of Yakima Canutt and those excellent miniatures done by the Lydecker brothers. Republic's best stuff. Well, getting back to the plot, when everybody regroups, they find that Mary is missing. So they backtrack, and our heroes discover she's been captured by the Indians, and they're planning to sacrifice her to their god.
Don't move! The men have you surrounded. If you attempt to follow us, my men won't miss with their next shots. I warn you to turn back or your entire party will be wiped out.
The actor playing the chieftain there is Chief Thundercloud, real name Victor Daniels. He would go on the next year to play Tonto in the Republic serial The Lone Ranger and reprise it again in The Lone Ranger Rides Again. The heroes return to camp, and they're without water or food, and they decide to press on. It would take forever to get back, and they have the hopes that they're very close to their objective and can get water there. They finally reach the site described in the map, but find that treachery has struck again.
The writing's been chiseled away. It's impossible to decipher it.
Marks of the chisel are fresh, too. Not over a day old.
Decide to set up camp. And Stoney comes up with the plan of having most of the group separate to look for water. But this is a trick on his part. He knows that the killer will know where the Whistling Skull is, and the water will be there. So the Three Mesquiteers split up and follow the other three that are off looking for water. And it turns out Rutledge and their Indian guide Ota are the culprits, which leads us to our first look of the skull itself. Impressive sight, yes? Oh, the actor who plays Ota is Yakima Canutt, the stunt coordinator of this film. He often did double duty like that, acting and stunting on a lot of the productions he worked on at Republic. Well, Stoney and Tucson head back to the group and they lead everyone to the water. But unbeknownst to them, they had been spotted by Rutledge and Ota, and an ambush had been set up, which leads to my favorite line in this whole film. Head for the skull. Sorry, I love that line. They make it to the skull and find themselves trapped. They also find, in a chamber, Professor Marsh.
And because I wouldn't tell where Paxton and I hid the treasure, Rutledge and his men held me a prisoner here. Rutledge is a half-breed and a member of that Indian cult that attacked you. He's been searching for the lost treasure, too. Is there any other way out of this gulf besides the entrance we came through? Yes, there's a rope ladder that leads up to an opening in the eye. That's the way Professor Paxton escaped. I'll show you.
Well, that explains Rutledge and all this. Once they find the escape route through the eye, they fashion a rope from the rope ladder and try to escape down the cliff face. But things don't go as planned. Thank goodness he took that rope with him. Well, while Tucson's being chased on foot, Rutledge offers a deal. He'll let them all go if they just give up the treasure. If not, he's going to burn Stoney at the stake in front of them. They're deciding on it when Lullaby decides to test to see just how trustworthy Rutledge is on this.
Hey, Rutledge, you let us hold you as a hostage, we'll tell you where the gold is hidden.
I'd say that answers that question pretty definitely. Lullaby then sneaks out through the eye of the skull to see if he can save Stoney. Meanwhile, Tucson, sadly, his race is just about over. Looks like the only thing that can save him now is a Dos Ex Maxima.
Sure a good thing the sheriff decided to have us follow you fellas.
It sure was. So now we have our rousing conclusion in which the posse rides to the rescue.
Clear out!
Leads to a standoff. That is until Lullaby uses a loose boulder to start an avalanche. The day is saved, thanks to another great Lydecker Brothers effect. The only thing left is the comedic wrap-up.
Let my case be a terrible example to you. I've read detective stories, and where did they get me? Where did they get me? Look at me now.
Hello, everybody.
Well, for... Just wait until Elmer sees you.
Boys, you got me.
And thus we come to the end of another adventure from yesteryear. I kind of like these little programmers. Republic was great at doing westerns, and this is really an unusual plot for one, with lost cities and mysterious killers and stuff. Much more interesting and different than the standard oil well, cattle rustling, bank robbing kind of plots you usually see in westerns. And at an hour, it doesn't wear out its welcome. It's very lean, cut to the bone, so that there's not a lot of extra stuff that kind of drags down the plot. Plus, you got the great action, the stunt work, special effects. All in all, an excellent film. And, well, that's about all I've got time for tonight. Please hit like, subscribe, and share. And also, stay after the credits to see my favorite scene.
I don't think that mummy will bother us anymore.